North Dakota State is an FCS powerhouse, having won 10 national championships over the past 14 seasons. The Pac-Insert number here, well, they're simply a conference desperate for football playing members, well, as long as those members happen to not be named Sacramento State. A team too good for its current level and a conference needing to make a splash? Seems like an ideal match, but is it really? It's certainly easy to be swept away in the romanticism of another far-flung outpost, adding to the geographical diversification that college football offers fans. That being said, there's a case to be made, a fairly strong one at that, against NDSU moving up to FBS. A few housekeeping items before we begin. Firstly, I am aware that NDSU would be subject to a transition period as it moved from FCS to FBS. We also know you were basically one filed lawsuit away from those running college football handing you whatever you want. In other words, I am certain that there is a solution out there that would permit the Bison to be counted as the Pac-12's 8th member in 2026. Do not do the math on that. We also know the Southeastern Conference is straight up telling other conferences to not add FCS schools. It must be stressed that A, this violates antitrust statutes, and B, really, right now, the Pac-12 doesn't have any other options on the table. Their last hope seems to be a lawsuit that removes the poaching penalties they are on the hook for after raiding the Mountain West Conference. Ironically, the cash the Pac-12 would save should they win that lawsuit would then be used for them to go poach more Mountain West schools. Man, you know what? Every time I think the Pac-12 commissioner can't get more useless, a new one shows up that's worse than the last one. All of that is to preface this. If North Dakota State wanted to join the Pac-12 as a football-only member, I'm pretty sure they'd be accepted no matter how much Greg Sankey vaguely threatens fools. If for no other reason, then the conference has to do something. They have to add someone if they want to sign a television contract. Now, the Bison, from an on-field standpoint, I think are a more appealing option than your Texas States or your Sam Houston States. Some out there will be saying media market, blah, blah, blah. This is the streaming age. That means nothing to anyone. The FCS championship game just brought in more than 2 million viewers. Point blank, if we're being truthful, if we're being honest with ourselves, we can all agree that a game between North Dakota State and Boise State or Washington State would bring in more neutral viewership than seeing those two schools play the likes of Texas State. No disrespect to those down in San Marcos, but it's just the way it is. For the Bison, a conference home has always been the school's largest obstacle on making the jump. They were never going to move up unless a conference was going to accept them as a football-only member, and those opportunities really just didn't exist at the FBS level. Importantly, the school has a pretty solid deal where it's at, the Missouri Valley Football Conference for gridiron, and then keeping the majority of all other sports in the Summit League works really well. That's what makes this potential Pac-12 opportunity so intriguing. They would get to be in an FBS conference for football only, while every other sport would remain in the Summit League, a best of both world scenario. Oh yeah, except for wrestling, because that's in the Big 12. This would mean, hypothetically, North Dakota State gets to test itself at football's highest level while not disrupting all of the other sports in the athletic department. For neutral fans, it means we would get to see this FCS juggernaut finally go up. A school that we know is capable of beating just about any FBS team in the country on its day. That would be pretty damn cool. We're also aware that the school is more than willing to move up now than in previous years. Leadership has never implicitly said, hey, we want to go up. Probably a good thing considering how that declaration has played out over in Sacramento with the Hornets. With no definitive statements being made, there's still been many reports that wheels are in motion at NDSU should an opportunity for FBS arise. As great as everything does sound, I'm just not entirely sure it's the right move for North Dakota State football. It is the difference between showing up casually late to the party and turning up the next morning. Any fun to be had is long gone, and all that's left is a massive mess to wallow in. First and foremost, the economics of North Dakota State football and the athletic department as a whole aren't really typical. They're not what you find at other universities. The school not only has the lowest subsidized athletic department in the FCS, but it would be the lowest subsidized athletic department should it transition to the group of 5. Roughly 26% of money going to sports at NDSU comes from state, school funding, or student fees. What the athletic department and what the university have done is create a sustainable economic model that is built around winning. According to Sportico, the school earned about $3.7 million in ticket sales during 2023. This was more than 42% of FBS public schools. Additionally, sponsors pay more because they get to be associated with a winning program that has captured the hearts and minds of those in Fargo. The main issue with moving up to FBS is that it costs money and lots of it. First, you have the $5 million fee to transition. Then, your football operating budget is going to need an influx of annual revenue. NDSU's current pigskin annual budget comes around $6 to $7 million annually. Now, when you compare that to what Mountain West schools are forking over each year to support their football programs, well, that is in the range of $14 to $15 to $16 million. TV revenue does offset some of this, but it's not like we know how much each school in the newfangled Pac-12 is going to get. Those in the conference have long held out hope that each school would be receiving somewhere in the ballpark of $10 million annually. And I mean, God bless them if they can get it. Really though, that projection feels nothing but a fever dream. Even if that is the case, let's say, you know what, the Pac-12 puts together a conference and somehow each school gets $10 million each year. The total barely offsets the increase in yearly operating expenses for the football program, not to mention the added cost incurred across the entire athletic department. Let's just say NDSU is average. They're mediocre at the FBS level when they move up 7-5, 6-6 seasons. Will sponsors keep paying top dollar to be associated with an average team? Can you keep charging above average ticket prices for a team that's not competing for a national championship? Sure, the average quality of opponent North Dakota State is going to face will be better, yet I'm still not sure how much more money people in Fargo are willing to pay to see Utah State over Maine or North Alabama. And even then, how much more can you really charge fans given the already fairly high prices for Fargo Dome tickets? The Fargo Dome itself is worth mentioning too. The home of the Bison, well, it has seen not one but two different tax increase proposals to renovate and expand the facility fail over the past 2 years. That will cap revenue generation opportunities as well. It does feel that the Fargo Dome in football from an attendance standpoint is probably maxed out regardless of if it's FCS or FBS. Sure, body bag games for the school will be worth more as an FBS school, and there are other ways to make money when you're playing at the higher level. I'm sure the numbers could work, but there is room for error. The reality is you're upending a system that has proven to be successful for one that is fraught with difficulties and potential failure. I don't know if that's the wisest move to make. Meanwhile, the Bison fan base is not exactly sold on a move up to FBS. The school really finds itself in such a weird spot with the football program. Everyone can see it's too good for the level it's playing at now. They are by far and away head and shoulders class above everyone else at FCS. But do fans really look over to a school like James Madison and say to themselves, we're really missing out on all of that? Sure, occasional home games against the likes of Wazoo, Oregon State, and Boise State would be fun, no doubt about it, but you're also going to get home games against those random FCS programs, an odd game against UConn thrown in here. I mean, there's a lot of not so fun things that come along with being an FBS school. And if everything breaks right, best case scenario, you get a trip to some low-level bowl played on a weeknight in December. Just how much greener is that grass on the other side compared to where NDSU is today? It's also important to mention what happens if the wheels fall off and the Bison start losing. Faction wars in the fan base start up between those supporting FBS and those wanting to go back to FCS. Coaches and ADs get fired at a more rapid clip. The rot of instability takes hold and it derails the entire football program. Eventually, your powerhouse program becomes nothing more than a school making up the numbers. Things can get really ugly really quick, especially for a fan base that doesn't remember what losing feels like. It's not just uncertainty surrounding what it would look like with NDSU playing at the next level. No one really knows what the hell the next level of college football is going to look like by the end of the decade. Today, at the moment, you'd be playing football in the Pac-12, where there's still access to a college football playoff bid. That alone probably makes it worth making a move, but should that door close, the jump is much less palatable. By the way, we already see the SEC and Big Ten angling to get that door shut as soon as possible, because who needs meritocracy? They say they're the best, and we should all just take it for their word. My word. With the FBS landscape seemingly on quicksand, there is no guarantee of what exactly NDSU are going to be getting themselves into. And while an FBS invite would certainly be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the Bison, it could turn out that ticket is nothing more than admission into Woodstock 99. At the end of the day, I keep returning to a very simple question. What is the upside of North Dakota State football moving up to FBS? Increased competition, sure, probably a chance to make the college football playoff, at least for a few seasons anyway. There'd be some increased visibility that comes along with it as well. Those are all fine. I wouldn't blame NDSU for chasing them. However, I'm not sold that it's worth risking everything the program has built to this point in time, not to go all Cinderella on you. North Dakota State football has a good thing going for it. Look, I'm fairly confident they would have no issues making a transition to FBS and being competitive, at least in terms of on-field performance. I do not think the program's economic model, which is built entirely around being a national championship contender, plays for an FBS team flirting around 500. With little ability to increase attendance numbers or the price of tickets, and the fact that incoming TV revenue has to go towards offsetting the increased costs that come with being an FBS football playing school, the margin for error here is razor thin. Besides, the Big Ten and SEC could pull the rug out from everyone and go play by themselves at any second. The FCS is far from perfect, but at least North Dakota State knows what they're getting into. At least they know the name of the game. The same cannot be said for a move to FBS, where a world filled with uncertainty and a lot of what-ifs exist. Thank you for watching this video. You know, Northern Colorado was actually one of the schools that transitioned from Division II college football to FCS alongside North Dakota State in the mid-2000s. And to learn more about their plight, check out the video in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. And to be regaled in the tale of college football's most confusing character, Dan Hawkins, video lower left-hand corner. Until next time, I am Cheyenne Hollis. This is The Touchback, and as always, hashtag take it out to the 25.